So what I'm saying is, if you're in the city, come and join us. It's going to be absolutely amazing. Our God is doing an amazing thing here in Kingston, Jamaica, and it's only going to grow and it's only going to get better. So what can I say? I am excited about what the Lord is doing. Not just about healing or deliverance, as I have said, but about people giving their lives to God. What I have heard and the testimonies I have heard in person and the testimonies that others have conveyed to other members of the fire carriers is just exactly how grateful they are for this move that God is actually doing in Denham Town right now. So I am hoping that everyone that is local, come on in and join us. Absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. So as I said, it's bigger than just healing. It's bigger than just deliverance. It's about souls. Number one priority. The most precious commodity here on earth is a soul. That's the most precious commodity. That's the thing that is most valuable to our Savior. So therefore, to be entrusted with souls, you will have absolutely no bigger responsibility in your life. You see, you might think that, oh, being a parent is a big responsibility, and it is, until you realize that God doesn't just see your kids as your kids. He sees them as souls to be taken care of, souls to be harvested for the kingdom. And I'm hoping that we as men and women of God, we see it for what it is. Alright, give me a second, I'm pulling over, picking up some of the fire carriers. Oh, they're not here yet. Okay, let me pull up so I can wait for them. Now that I'm not driving, I can talk to you a little bit more. Yes, but as I was saying, to be in a position where you see souls in the light that God sees them, you see them as being valuable, you see them as being, one second, I'm peeking.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, good morning.
I'm one of us. Get Danny, please. Give me a minute.
Yes. So, as I said, I'm pulling over. I hope you guys don't mind, like, real, because this is real. We actually in the go. As I'm talking to you, I'm actually doing this for real. Stopping, picking up a few people. So, you will hear people in the background talking. You will see people coming in. Because I just believe that if we're going to do this, we should do this for real. This pretending thing of acting a certain way, I don't know. It's not really me, and it will never be me. So, I will never be that person that will come in and pretend that, just pretend. I don't know how to do it, so I'm hoping that you guys don't mind all that. Yes, but as I was saying, it has been absolutely amazing what has been taking place in Denham Town, Kingston, and our hope is definitely take this further. Once we have been fully established here in Kingston, then the reality is that I would love for us to actually take this island wide. We are already in many places around the world, but you know, bless you, Apostle, bless you, man of God, and anyone that actually was actually saying hello before. If I missed you, sorry about that. I am actually driving, so once I get moving again, I can't actually look at the screen. So that's the reason why I actually could not actually read the comments before. But this is what I'm saying. Good morning, how you doing? You good? Yes, so I'm hoping that you guys will join us. Once it is possible, come on in and join us, because it is going to be amazing. I'm not just saying that. That's the experience so far. So far, it has surpassed what I expected, simply because I'm like, okay, I am no stranger to the move of God. I am not surprised by the move of God, but there's something, as a matter of fact, taking a little bit of switch, and it might sound a bit controversial, but I'm just going to be honest. There's something that I have realized. I realized that new believers and sinners get healed quicker than Christians, veteran Christians. Now, I don't know if anyone knows this to be true, but that's my experience. Just turn it down so we can, yeah, thank you. That's my experience. For some reason, veterans are not getting healed and delivered. And I can actually tell you the reason why. It's easy, because I was concerned and I was asking the Lord, like, There's Christians that come and they want prayer and they want healing and deliverance, and I meet someone who's a stone sinner and they want to give their life to God or something, bam, they're healed from the most crazy diseases and sicknesses. And then we have Christians who just don't get healed. And that was something that perplexed me. That was something that I was concerned about. Like, why is it that everyone else is getting healed and Christians are not? So I hope you are ready for the answer. It's because you're held at a different standard. It's because, see, sinners, they're coming in, and it's almost like they're depending on my faith to just work. Because if someone comes in and they know nothing about God, never experienced Jesus, then I'm not even depending on them to give me an iota of faith. I'm just being as honest as I can be. I am actually just there thinking to myself, I don't care if you believe, I believe. But then there's a difference when you're a son and a daughter. Let me explain. It means that if you're a part of the same estate and you're a co-heir, just like I'm a co-heir, then it means that God expects you to believe like I believe. It means that the standard is a bit different for believers. You can't just come in and don't believe and then still receive. It is different for an outsider to be a skeptic. But when someone who's actually a son don't believe in the estate, that's a problem, right? In other words, we are all about the Father's business. So we might be at different ranks, different offices, but we're all about the Father's business. It means that we have equal rights. Different offices, but equal rights, equal relationship. So if you're in a position, bless you, woman of God, bless you, bless you. So if you're in a position where you're thinking to yourself, well, I don't get it. Why is it that some guys, do me a favor, woman of God, if you can invite a few people in. We're going to talk until we get to church, right? Okay, brilliant. Thank you. All right, so it's like equal rights. So you're in a position where now you're not just an outsider that is being sold a product. It means you're not just someone who someone else is telling about the kingdom. It means you are a part of the kingdom. Do you know how sad it is when you're representing something that you yourself don't believe in? Do you have any idea how sad it is when I have to try and convince a Christian that Jesus Christ is capable of healing them? It makes no sense. And that's the reason why the results are so low among Christians. Because Christians are expecting, or to be honest, that's the state we're in, that we have to be convincing Christians at the same pace, the same rate that we are convincing sinners. It means we have Christians who love God but don't trust Him, don't fully believe Him. And I know people might be offended and they might not want to actually admit that, you know what, I believe in Jesus but I don't fully trust Jesus. You have people who are actually more sure of a surgeon than they are of the Holy Spirit. And in a sense, though it is wrong, I am not bashing you. I'm telling you, it's time for us to get into that relationship with God where no surgeon, no man, no woman. As a matter of fact, let's take it a bit deeper. Most of us trust the man of God or the woman of God more than we actually trust God. Where we literally are so amazed by what an apostle, a prophet, a pastor, evangelist, whatever your office, so impressed by the office that we're forgetting that this person is representing a way bigger cause, a way bigger person, the one true God. So therefore, sometimes I'm not saying don't give honor to your apostle or prophet. That would be hypocrisy given the fact that I'm in the same office. What I'm saying is we can't be so in awe of the man or the woman that we miss the God behind that person. Because sometimes we're forgetting that these persons are subjected to a higher power. That we're nothing more than just bodies to be used. And if we can understand that we're only bodies to be used, then it changes absolutely everything, because now no man can take credit and no woman can take credit. It means you recognize that without God you can do absolutely nothing. So the standard is different for you if you're a Christian. You might be there and you're saying to yourself, well, it's evident that this person walked in healing and deliverance. See, it's different. And you can write this down if you've never heard it before, but I'm 100% sure. If you are a believer, you don't need the gift that is placed in someone for healing. It is your inheritance. Now I hope someone is listening to me and understand what I'm saying. If you are a believer, you don't need the gift of an apostle for you to be healed. You don't need the gift of a prophet for you to be healed. Healing is your inheritance. Deliverance is your inheritance. You have a right to be healed. You have a right to be delivered. You have a right to walk in power. But you must know this. Otherwise, you come in as a stranger. Oh, Apostle, my head is hurting me. Can you pray for my head? And I will pray for your head, but truthful fact, you really don't need me to pray for your head as a Christian. And I'm hoping that what I'm saying makes some sense. Oh, Apostle, my and that's one of the worst things too. My high blood pressure. It's not your high blood pressure, man. It's not your diabetes. It's not your cancer. It's not anything that tears your body down, that destroys your life. It's not yours. So we're gonna have to stop claiming these things also. But you genuinely, and I'm talking as one that operates in the office of an apostle, healing and deliverance, but I'm telling you that you don't need me. If you're a Christian, you don't need me for healing. You don't need me for deliverance. You don't need me to walk in the signs that follow the believers. I have been telling this to the fire carriers now for like 2 years. I said, guess what? For 2 years, I've been saying, you don't need to be so caught up in a man. That don't mean that you don't respect the office. But what is the true purpose of the office of the apostle? It is not for your healing. That is Jesus' job. It's not for your deliverance. That is also Jesus' job. So what is the apostle really there for? What is the prophet really there for if you're not there for healing? Especially for Christians. Someone might be confused right now thinking, so you're saying that apostles should not be conducting healing and deliverance? That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, do you understand what it's like when you're going in and you're performing something and doctors that know the same procedures or should be able to operate in the same area as you? So what I'm saying is, you don't need an apostle to be healed. It's your inheritance. What's the job of an apostle? The primary job of an apostle is to actually maintain the foundation that Jesus Christ left. It's not so we can come in and actually say, look at him, he's an apostle and he operates in the fivefold. Why does an apostle have to operate in the fivefold? Because if you're going to be an inspector of the fivefold, you better make sure you can operate in the fivefold. It means that you are like an inspector working for the city. You're not necessarily coming in and working on construction 24/7, but you're there to make sure that when a building is being erected, that the structural integrity has been put in place. That means you won't have a building that will collapse like within 2 weeks after the structure has been erected. That's the job of an apostle. I've heard many times they said apostle plants churches. No. That's not a job. That's not the job of an apostle. You don't have to be the founder of a church to make sure the foundation is right. You are like a building inspector. You're a structural inspector. That's what your job is. You're not necessarily there as an apostle to make sure that, because people say apostles start churches, and they're basing their arguments solely on Paul, the apostle Paul. So what about all the 11 other apostles? As a matter of fact, if you want to say 12, because Judas was an apostle too. The great evidence shows that most of the apostles, they didn't actually start churches. So if you're going to use and going to set if you're going to set the pattern for an apostle to go start churches, then you have just gone in and dismissed all the original apostles, and you're now focused only on Paul, Peter, Barnabas, a handful of started churches. Apostles evangelize. Apostles go in and keep the integrity to make sure that the gospel that was actually left by Jesus Christ is the same gospel that is actually being preached across the world. That's the job of an apostle. An apostle is not here for your healing. He's not here for your deliverance. He's there to make sure you know you can be healed. He's here to make sure that you yourself walk in deliverance. But he or she is not actually your deliverer. He's not your healer. And therefore, if an apostle is listening today, your primary duty is to make sure that all the members of the congregation know their rights, that they too will walk in power, that they too will walk in integrity, that they too will walk. You see, Bible says the signs will follow the believers. My duty as an apostle is to make sure that every believer knows that the signs should be following you. That's my job. My job is not to come in and to be the one that is actually accessing all this power and authority for you. My job is to show you how to do it, so you yourself can walk in it, so you yourself can go out and teach someone else. That's my primary job. Not to actually come in and hold mass crusades so I can heal a lot of people. That's for people who are coming to Christ. Paul asked something, and he said, are there any sick among you? And when I read that statement, you see, it's something that I found profound, because he asked this question, are there any sick among you, which suggests that there shouldn't be any. But just in case they are, call for the elders, right? Call for the elders. You genuinely don't need a specific person of a rank for a Christian to be healed. A Christian doesn't even need another Christian to actually lay hands upon them to be healed. Just so you know. But no criticism. We are at that stage where, as believers, we are still going through that identity crisis. And as an apostle, that's what I am here for. Not just me, but all apostles. We should be here to help to correct those things that have those misconceptions that, oh, you need to be an apostle or a prophet. So an apostle is not primarily there to plant churches. That's what I've heard. That's not biblical. That's not, it's nowhere in the Bible that says an apostle is there to plant churches. I would say up to 80% of the apostles planted no churches. So therefore, unless we're going to say, as a matter of fact, I remember having this discussion with an apostle maybe about a year and a half ago. And it was, the first thing he said to me was, I was in the US, and he said to me, oh, where's your church located? And then he proceeded to say, well, if you have no church location here in the States, you're not an apostle. And I said to him, so are you saying that only by planting churches is a person considered an apostle? And that's exactly what he was saying. So then I asked him, I said to him, so who are apostles? And when I pointed out to him all the 12, and that only an handful, not even an handful, actually planted churches, then he said to me, they weren't apostles. He said to me, Philip wasn't an apostle, he was actually an evangelist. So I said, where did you get this? Where did you get this? Because there's nothing there that says that Philip was an evangelist. My brother is supposed to meet me here. I hope my sister Chantel is watching, because tell my brother that I am actually at the gas station now and I can't wait for long. Yes, so it's like, he said to me that if you're not planting churches, you're not an apostle. And I'm saying, like, where did we get these things from, these doctrines that we're presenting, that you need to be? Oh yes, oh yes. Do me a favor, can you get it for me? I don't know if this is so imagine this, that you have to be an apostle to, you have to be an apostle to actually plant a church. Nah. Oh, the address, brilliant. I am parked for a few minutes, so hopefully we can put the address in. I think the button is in the back. Thank you. Yes, you don't need to be an apostle to plant a church. That's not the job of an apostle to plant churches. It's the job of an apostle to oversee churches, to make sure the structural integrity of the church is intact, to make sure that when you go in, so I was explaining to the fire carriers a while back in a teaching, and I said the reason why we have so many different denominations and different doctrines is because the apostles were removed from the church. Now I know someone might actually dispute what I'm saying, but I know this for a fact. When the apostles were removed from the church, different doctrines came in, because there was no one there to monitor, to make sure that what Jesus left was going to be intact. See, the city has a building code, and then you have the inspectors who are there to maintain the code. So likewise, Jesus Christ has a code. And the apostles, the prophets, the teachers, the evangelists, the fivefold going in, they're there to maintain the structure. They're there to maintain the structure that Jesus actually left here on earth. They're not there to be the structure, because that's what's happening right now. I think we as children of God, we have gone from one extreme to the other. At one point, we are not actually into the fivefold, and then at the next point, we have made the fivefold God. This is what is so crazy. 1 minute we're not into the fivefold, the next minute we have made the fivefold ministry God. We have totally replaced Jesus Christ with the fivefold. Now let me explain to you why what I'm saying to you is so important. Because if you're in a position where you are seeing the fivefold ministry ministers, okay, if you're seeing almost what time? 90. Okay. I don't even have $100 with me. I thought you were looking for coins or something. Just do what you can do. And yeah, we have actually made the fivefold ministry God. So we have gone from one extreme to the other. At one point, we don't believe in the fivefold. The next minute, the fivefold is like the highest you can get. And then we are in a position where we are like, oh, the apostle and the prophet. So literally the apostles have replaced Jesus, and the prophets have replaced Jesus, and we have now found people who are literally just replacing Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior. And that was never meant to be. A structural engineer is there to make sure that the standard, the building standard, is actually maintained. He or she is not the only builder on the site. He or she has builders who are building. That means there's so many sites to be inspected that though that person might be versed in building, he or she can't stick around just on one site simply because other sites call out for help. That's what it's like being a structural engineer. So therefore, it's the same thing when it comes to the church. You don't go in and you don't just find one person who is actually the one person that you need in the church. Because the engineer 99% of the time is not the one that is doing the building. 99% of the time the engineer is there, the structural engineer is there to actually to assess, to give instructions, but not actually be doing the building. So why is this so important? I want to encourage someone who might be there thinking to themselves, well, I'm not an apostle, I'm not a prophet, I am not this and I'm not that. What is my placement in the church? You're a kingdom builder. Bless you, Sister Charmaine. You're a kingdom builder. Now, all Christians are kingdom builders. But I just wanted you to know that the fivefold is there to maintain the structure, oversee the structure, but most times are not always the ones implementing the system. Most times you're not the one implementing the system simply because there's so much to be done that you go in, you train people up, they do all the implementation, and you keep going on, and then you monitor to make sure that what they're doing is right. If you're the only person in the church walking in power, then the system is not working. If you're the only person that's walking in authority, then the system doesn't work. Any officer in the army knows that he is not the army. He's not the military. That means if you're actually in the Air Force, Navy, or Army, you are not the army. You're a part of the structure. It means a general is not always the toughest guy in the unit. I've said that many times. As a matter of fact, most times you see a general, he or she is of a certain age, and because they're of a certain age, it means that person is not always going to be in a position where they can actually, or what I put it, they are physically as strong as a private. So guess what? Because that person is not physically as strong as a private, it means what they're doing is not based on strength. I wonder if that's my brother over there. I'm looking in the car. I'm going to back up to where he is. Seems like it's him. I'm almost 1,000,000% sure.
What kind of car are you driving?
That Mitsubishi over there.
Oh.
Yeah, so he or she is not there for his own agenda. He's there to maintain the standard of the government. He's there to give orders, but not necessarily to be the toughest. he might not even be the one that's the best shot. He might not be able to execute. Yes. Yes, so he's not there to prove how tough he is. Alright, so I'll get him to follow me. Alright family, bear with me for a second. Follow me. Yes. He's not there on his own agenda. He's there to fulfill what God has sent him to do. So therefore, this is what I recommend. Irrespective of your role in the kingdom, stop trivializing what God has placed in your life. Stop making it out to be like it's not important because you're not of a certain office. Every job is important. No, she's not going. Every job is important. Everything that the God of heaven has placed you to do in the kingdom is important. And men of God and women of God, people who are in the fivefold, let me give you some advice. Never get to the point where you think you're better than the people you're there to serve. Because the one thing about these offices, if you're really walking in these offices, then you're a servant leader. You're never going to be in a position where you're there to lord it over people, because you're not even there to give your opinion. You're not even there to actually execute your own feeling. You're there to execute exactly what the God of heaven would have you to. So my advice, go in and actually just serve. And for those who don't consider themselves as important, I want to let you know this morning that you are. I want to let you know right now that without you, a lot of things that are supposed to be done in the kingdom would not have been done, because one person, is this a turn here?
Yes.
Because it's impossible for one person to actually be the kingdom. It's never been done in the history of man, and it will never be done. One person cannot be a regiment. One person cannot be the standard. A system is the standard. A system is the standard. So I just want to encourage you. Go in and represent God. Make sure that irrespective of what job you have to do, that you are actually willing to do that job, and see yourself as a kingdom builder. As a kingdom builder. You might have people who are architects. All right, let's break it down quickly. I'm going to go in like maybe less than 5 minutes. But let me just say this quickly. The chief architect is Jesus Christ. But even the architect himself, though he has everything worked out, he doesn't do all the job. He doesn't do it all by himself. He goes in, he gets the plan together, he gets everything, he knows what's important, and he even chooses the workers he wants to complete what he has in his mind or her mind to actually be executed, right? But ultimately the architect is not the one that is there laying the bricks and going in and doing a lot of the hard work. Jesus did the most hard work you could find by giving his life, by shedding his blood. But now we are in a position where we are kingdom builders. That the vision that Jesus Christ has, we are there to make sure that that vision is actually brought to reality. Is that, I wonder what's causing that? Oh, the door is open. Alright, no worries. So, don't actually see yourself as unimportant. But if Jesus is the chief and he could actually call in for others to help, I want to talk to every man and woman of God to let you know that you are actually a part of God's big plan to come in and to execute his kingdom here on earth, to bring souls to the kingdom. We are less than 5 minutes away from the church, so I'm not going to be with you much longer. Just wanted to just talk to you as I'm heading in. And I'm also asking you to invite someone to come in and join us today in worship. My hope is that once we have actually started the service, then we can go live. We'll see what happens depending on the setup today. But I'll try and get you guys to come in and actually worship with us today if it's possible. And if someone can actually put the address in the room for me as well, for anyone that is actually local in the city that would like to come in and join us. And the address is 69 Charles Street, and that is in Denham Town. If you put in Charles Street, I don't even know how it works, but if you just put Charles Street in your GPS, I'm sure 69 Charles Street in Denham Town, Kingston, it will get you there. And you'll be surprised to see that when you come, you will feel nothing but fire. You'll feel nothing but just the glory of God, and a lot of people just busy loving their God and giving him the glory that he deserves. So I just want to encourage you, if possible, come and join us. If it's possible, come in and join us. It is going to be an amazing, amazing day. I don't know, but I'm feeling good about today, and I'm not feeling good because I'm expecting any healing or deliverance. That happens every week. That's not, but my feeling is not based on the possibilities of what could happen. My feelings are based on just what I feel. I feel like my God is going to be glorified. That's what I'm really interested in. Okay, woman of God, I totally understand. And just for anyone that can actually come in and join us, so I get it. If you have church, go to church. We're just going to make it available for those who are actually going to be home today. No worries. If it's one person, then it's one person. I totally understand. Can someone put this address in? 69 Charles Street. There you go. Sister Chantel did so. Thank you very much. So yes, we are like a minute away from pulling up. So I'm gonna go I'm gonna go shortly. But I want you guys to once we go in and we have set up everything, then we will actually come in and we'll invite you guys back in to come and join us. But remember, you are valuable to the kingdom. Let no one tell you otherwise. You are valuable to the kingdom. I know this for a fact, because if someone waits, the unfortunate thing that I see happening is sometimes we are waiting for people to start walking in a lot of power and authority to actually recognize how valuable they are to the kingdom. You don't need to show power and authority to be valuable to the kingdom. People need to recognize that people are valuable long before. Oh yes, that's what I'm talking about. This woman of God is back today. So family, I salute you. I have a church. I'm about to go. God bless you, and I will catch you on the next one. Hopefully in less than, what time is it now? Let me see, because we start at 10. 9:42, so in maybe 15-20 minutes you guys will be in with us again. God bless you. I salute you. 69 Charles Street, come on in and join us, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bless you.